I hope you guys were doing the quizzes which I gave you. Right. Now, I think Firoz has joined in for the first time. Right. So,
Yes.
okay. Okay. So, what we have done till far now is we have done basics of Java and some basics of Selenium, and we yesterday we made a simple script which could open the browser, go to the website, and which could actually log in. All right. So this is the open browser function which we had made, which could open any browser dynamically. Right. And then we saw yesterday that basics of XPaths. Okay, we saw complete XPaths. Right. So if I run this script on Chrome, so it will open the browser and log me in. Right. Okay. Now the thing is, I told you that the XPaths are of different types. Complete XPaths. Okay. If you want to find complete XPath for an element, you can just right click on that element first, inspect it. Fine. And if you look at the element, this is the element in the page source. And in the page source, you can right click on it and go to copy full XPath, and you will get the full XPath of the element. The full XPath starts from the root tag, which is HTML. Okay, that is in the page source. If you look at the root tag, it is HTML. And from this HTML tag, it keeps on going down till the time it reaches the element. Okay, right. But we don't prefer to use this kind of XPath to identify the elements. What we do is that we use the partial XPaths or our own customized XPaths. Because this XPath, I told you that if anything changes at the root level, suppose at this level, some more elements they get added after the immediately after the body tag, then all my XPaths of the application will change. Okay, so what we prefer is we prefer to have partial XPaths. To understand partial XPaths, it's very simple. A partial XPath will always start with double slash. Okay, double slash star. This means all the elements on the web page. Okay, if I take double slash star and I hit Control F over here, I told you you will find a small uh, s- uh, text box in which you can also write. And in this, if I write double slash star, it says 1 out of 2430 elements. So there are 2430 elements on this web page. Okay, if instead of a star, I give a tag name, for example, for a link will always have an anchor tag. Sorry. A link on any website. Okay. A link always has an anchor tag. Okay. So if I write over here double slash A. So instead of all the elements on the web page, this represents all the links on the web page. Okay. So if you write double slash A, it will say 1 out of 93. So it will basically represent, see, all the anchor tags of the web page. That means all the links. Right. Okay. And if I say, if I go to this link again, or say if I'm on the sign in screen, if I look at this text field, okay, and I right click on this text field HTML code. Okay, so this is an input field. Okay, if I right click on it and I say copy the X path, not the full X path, copy the X path, this is going to give me the partial X path of the text field. Okay, so it is something like this, double slash star. That means out of all the elements on the web page, because double slash star was all the elements, you give me the element whose ID is user email. Okay, the ID of this text field was user email. So this becomes the partial XPath. Okay, I'll put single quotes over here so that I can put it in the code. I'll make a new package, day 5. Okay, all our classes will extend the test base class which I had made. In test base class, I had made the function to open the browser. Okay, so I'll put the annotation at the rate test, public void launch, and right, and I'll call the open browser function. Say we'll open Chrome. So open browser is from the test base class, and then we will go to the login URL, right, driver.get, and then driver.find element by the XPath, you can say. Okay, and you can provide this XPath. Right, dot send keys ABC. So this will actually launch the browser and go and type ABC in the text field. Okay, okay, right. Now, if you look at the link over here, my portfolio. Okay, if I copy the partial XPath for it, and I look at this XPath over here, it says this kind of XPath. Okay, look, the thing is, this is the anchor tag, it's having no ID. A partial XPath is made on the basis of ID. So it jumps over to one tag above it, which is this li tag. This li tag is also having no ID. So it jumps over to this ul tag, which again has a no ID, and then it jumps over to the parent tag of ul tag, which is this div tag. This div tag is having this ul tag, and then it jumps over to this tag, which has an ID as a wrapper, and it builds the XPath from here. Okay, that means there is a element double slash star. Instead of star, you can give the tag name as well. Okay, that is the div tag has the wrapper ID, right? So instead of all the elements on the web page, I can say that all the div tags on the web page get me the div tag whose ID is wrapper. Okay, under this div tag, you have got many other division tags which are parallel to each other. Okay, you want to go inside the first division tag. Okay, so you have slash div 1. Right. Inside this first division tag, you want to go inside this UL tag. There is just one UL tag under this division tag. There is anchor tag, span tag, division tag, UL tag. So there is just one UL tag. Under the UL tag, it went into the second li tag. Okay, because the second li tag holds the anchor link. All right. So this is how it made the custom XPath. It searched for the nearest element with an ID. Okay, you can replace double quotes with single quotes so that it can be used in the code. And probably you can use this XPath as well. If you want to click on the link, you can write driver.findElement by the XPath this dot click. Okay, so when you run this code, look, Selenium commands are simple. Okay, today or tomorrow you will look at the training or you will look at something on the web page. Okay, you can easily learn about Selenium commands, that what is driver.findElement and other stuff. Okay, the most important thing is identifying the elements. Okay, building your locators. Okay, that is XPaths or CSS selectors. Okay, that is the most important thing, right? Because for that only time and experience counts. Okay, not the knowledge, because in Selenium there are around 50 fixed commands. Okay, and we have been looking at those commands since 2 days. All right, but for finding a locator, there is no command. There is only a little bit of knack and experience involved. Okay, now uh, this is partial XPath. Partial XPath can be easily calculated by right clicking on the element and going to copy XPath. Okay, but there are custom XPaths as well. That is, instead of taking uh, help from the browser, you yourself make the XPath, because browser will always build the XPath, partial XPath of the element based on the nearest element having an ID. We wanted to reach this anchor tag A. To reach this anchor tag, this was the nearest division tag with an ID. So it started the XPath from this division tag. Okay, but you see, this anchor tag is having a href property hyperreference. This is actually the link which will open when you click on the anchor tag. Okay, so I can build my own customized XPath based on this. I can write /a whose @href property is equal to /portfolio. See, this link gets highlighted. And it's very important that it should be a unique one. Okay, and it is saying 1 out of 1 elements are selected. That means this XPath uniquely points towards this link. Okay, so this link can have XPath, which is derived from the browser, or you can make a customized XPath. Or maybe you can start with this UL tag with this class. Okay, right. So I'll write over here that there is a UL tag whose class is this. So there is just one UL tag with this particular class. So uniqueness matters over here. You should not have one XPath pointing down to 2, 3 elements. Okay, and under that, you have got so many li tags. You want to go inside the second li tag. So li bracket. 2 and then the anchor tag A. So slash A. So this also becomes the XPath for the element. Okay, so this is the XPath from the browser and these are the two XPaths we have made. And they will certainly work. Okay, if you look at this username field, the XPath which we derived from the browser was this. Okay, that is a double slash star, or instead of the star, you can also put the tag name. Okay, that is double slash input. Okay, if you look at this text field, it's an input tag inside the div with the class a login wrapper. Okay, so you can write over here div with the class login wrapper. And under this, you have the input tag. All right. So this is again a customized XPath for the username field. So we are lucky that there is only one input tag. Had there been one or two input tags, we should had used the number over here. Okay. So you can put this and over here, and when you run this, you see that it works. Right. So basically this means one element can have multiple XPaths. This is possible. Okay. Because you yourself saw that this XPath for the link, I also made two other XPaths for the same link and for the username field as well. So one element can have multiple XPaths. This is possible. And multiple elements can have one XPath. This is also possible. Okay, see double slash A, it represents all the links on the web page. So multiple elements, all the links can have one XPath. All right. And if you suppose if you go to say shopping section, you see there are multiple buy now buttons over here. Okay. If you inspect this, right, if I look at this button, it's a span tag with the class product buy now. Okay, look guys, always remember class property is not a unique. If you are building XPaths based on the class, okay, the class property defines look and feel of the element. Generally, the elements which have the same look and feel on a web page, on any web page, generally the elements which have the same look and feel, color, height, they have the same class. Okay, if I look at the first buy now button, it's a span with the class product buy now. If I look at the second buy now button, it is also a span with the class product buy now. So all the buy now buttons, they have the same class. Okay, product buy now. So if I build the XPath like this, that there is a span tag whose at the rate class is product buy now. So this will represent all the buy now buttons on the web page. See, if I'm clicking over here, it is representing, highlighting one button at a time. Okay, there are 102 buy now buttons on this web page. Right. So this one XPath can represent all the buy now buttons on the web page. Okay, multiple elements can have one XPath. Similarly, you see the price over here. The price tag is orange in color, and rather all the prices are orange in color. It's a span with the class deal price. So if I build the XPath like this, span with the class deal price, this will represent all the prices on the web page. Okay. Now, how do you extract all the prices or all the buttons? What kind of code you write for that? I have not told you right now. I'll tell you in coming classes. Right. But you can build one XPath which can represent multiple elements on the web page as well. Okay. And suppose I talked about this link, right? My portfolio link. I had built the XPaths like this. This was the XPath for my portfolio. I can also build the XPath based on the text of the element. That is also possible. The text is my portfolio, right? You can build the XPath like this, that there is a link whose text is my portfolio. Like this, not at the rate text. Text is a JavaScript function. There is a link whose text is my portfolio. You can also build this XPath link. You see that, but there are two elements on the web page with this thing. One is at the bottom as well. You see, it says 2 out of 2 elements. One is at the bottom. Okay, but as I told you yesterday, if I keep this XPath and if I use this XPath, then Selenium will use the first one, because find element command, this command by default uses the first element on the web page. Okay, my portfolio, there are two elements. There is one on the top, one in the bottom. So it will click on the top one because Selenium extracts the object from the left to the right side of the page and it goes down the page. Okay, the leftmost coordinate on the page is 0, 0. It increases towards right and the bottom. Same is on the mobile as well if you use Appium. So it will use this particular link, not the one at the bottom. Okay, let me run this. It will be quite fast. We won't be able to recognize which link it clicked on. Yeah, I clicked on my portfolio only, but one on the top. If you want to click the one on the bottom, I'll tell you there are ways out. Okay, and not just links. Okay, suppose this is the sign in text. Okay, if I hold on, yeah, if I look at the sign in text, it's a span. Okay, so you can also build the XPath for this text. Okay, you can write span whose text is sign in. Okay, so it will highlight this element, 1 out of 1 elements. Right. So this is again the XPath based on the text of the element. Right. At times, what happens is, especially in Facebook, if you log in, they want you, or they don't want the automation tools to come in the website. Okay. So what happens is that um, they change the IDs or they change the elements XPaths. Okay, hold on, I'll tell you. I don't have an example with me for this, but for example, this was the username field. Okay, the ID of the username field was user email. Okay, so we were building the XPath like this. So at times to prevent automation tools, every time you refresh the web page, many websites, they change the ID. Okay, what happens is first time you go to the web page, the ID is ABC and some random number in front of it. So every time you refresh the web page, ABC remains constant, but this number or this alphanumeric value, it keeps on changing. Okay, or I hope you're getting my point. If you are not able to understand the point, then let me know. No sound. Omkar, are you able to hear me? You had written no sound. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay, right. So I hope you're getting my point. This thing keeps on varying. Okay, or sometimes what happens is the constant part is in the end. Sometimes the constant part is in between and the characters left to the constant part and the right to the constant part. They change every time you refresh the web page. Or sometimes there is no constant part. The complete XPath, it changes. The complete ID rather, it changes whenever you refresh the web page or whenever you reach the web page for the second time. So this way the XPaths, they will fail to recognize the objects and you'll get a no such element exception, which we saw yesterday. There is a solution to this problem. Okay, there are two JavaScript functions which you can use. Okay, you can make an XPath like this over here. That is, there is an input field. And if it is starting with ABC, you can use the function starts with like this and at the rate ID, comma, ABC. You can build the XPath like this, that there is an input tag whose ID is starting with ABC, but it should boil down to the right element. You should always check it out. Okay. If it is ending with ABC, there is no ends with function, but there is a function known as contains. That there is an input tag whose ID is containing ABC. This contains can also be used in the first scenario because ABC is present over here, or you can use starts with. In the third scenario where ABC is in between, you can use the same contains a static portion ABC. And in the last scenario, there is no solution. You have to build your own custom XPath. You should not rely on the ID. For example, in this case, if the ID was completely changing, I could have started my XPath from this division whose class is login wrapper, which I made some time back, this one. The ID of this input tag was completely varying. So I built the XPath from the division whose class is login wrapper if the ID was completely varying. So you can build your own custom XPath in a different way, in a more stable way. Okay, so this is a very rare scenario that the IDs they keep on fluctuating whenever you refresh the web page. But if it happens, then you can go for these two functions, starts with and contains. So basically, in a nutshell, in giving you an overview, there are three types of XPaths. One is the complete XPath, which starts from the root of the document. Okay, it's very accurate, and we prefer not to use it because if something changes on the web page, then this XPath will certainly change. Okay, one is the partial XPath, which can be calculated from the browser, which is based on the ID generally. The browser, the XPath coming from the browser is always based on the ID of the element. And one is the custom XPath, which is not necessarily based on the ID, which is our own XPath. And we just saw we built multiple XPaths for one element, and we also saw that multiple elements can have one XPath. Okay, and you can also build the XPath based on the text of the element. This is also possible. Like, for example, what at times, when do you use it? We'll use it. Like, for example, tomorrow or in some time, we'll do an exercise, right? You log in inside this application, and um, this is a very diversified application. I use it because it's quite interactive. It is a stock market portfolio application, and it's got some good controls which can help you automate stuff. So over here, if you click on add stock, you get a calendar. Fine. We will see how to select the date from the calendar as well. But if you look at this number over here, for example, 11th. So if I want to reach the date 11th, right? So every number in this calendar is a TD cell, right? And the number is inside the TD tag, 10th or 11th. So I can make the XPath based on the text, that there is a TD tag whose text is equal to 11. So this will highlight the number 11 on the calendar, and I can simply say that TD whose text is 11 dot click driver dot find element by this XPath dot click. So it will click on the 11th and the date will be selected. So, okay. So each cell over here would have a different XPath, and you can put the date in between and you can click on the number. Okay. So there are at times wherein you will use this kind of XPath as well. Okay. Right. Now I told you about XPaths, and before I jump over, and we'll do 2, 3 exercises, we'll make codes which will actually help you out. And before I jump over to those things, there is one concept which I want to tell you, that is about the attribute reading. Okay, what is attribute reading? Suppose if I have to say I'm on the login page and I have to read the text, say your email address. Okay, it's a H4 tag with this particular class. So if I write over here H4 with class as this, so there are two elements on the web page. One is your password and first is your email. Of course, we want the first one. So Selenium will get the first one. How to get the second one, I'll tell you. Okay. So if I simply write over here driver.find element by the XPath, this XPath boils down to two elements, but I want the text of the first element. So if I write get text, this will give me the text of the first element and I can print the text. Okay, so if you run this, this will type ABC and it's also printed your email address. Okay, now what if I want to read the value of this text field? What is written inside the text field? I want to read it. Right. So to do that, if I use driver.find element by the XPath of the text field dot get the text. Okay, I get the text of the text field and I print it. And if you look at this, it prints blank. Okay, get text will only give you the static visible text on the web page. Basically, get text gives you the text which is between the tags. If you look at any text, for example, this sign in text. This sign in text is in between the tag, right? The span tag opens over here and closes over here. So it is in between the tag. All right, it's a static text on the web page. If you look at the text field over here, then you will not find any ABC over here. Okay, there is no static text ABC. Okay, right. So how do you read the value of the text field? The size of this text field is 36. That means 36 pixels, or I guess, right? This is the size. Suppose I want to read this attribute size. So what we do is that, hold on. We write driver.find element of the text field dot. There is a function known as get attribute size. Okay. So this will read the value of the size attribute of the text field. Get attribute size. If you run this, see it's printing 36. And in case of a text field, there is a attribute known as the value attribute. It might not be visible to you. Sometimes it might be visible to you. The value attribute is, it's not mandatory to have the value attribute visible, but it is always there with the text field and it holds what is written inside the text field. The value of this attribute value, it keeps on changing as we type in the text field. Okay, so if I type ABC in the text field and after that I write get attribute value. So this is going to give me what is written in the text field. You cannot use get text over here. Get text is generally for the static text on the web page. Okay, so if you look at this now, it prints. Oh, I did not write text equals to this. So it prints ABC. So get attribute is quite important. It will help you to read the value of a text field. This is a checkbox. Okay, if you look at this checkbox, the ID is remember flag. There is an attribute checked which will tell whether the checkbox is checked or not. Fine. The ID of this attribute is remember flag. Okay. Suppose I write it like this: checked equals to driver dot find element by the ID this dot get attribute checked. So I read the value of the attribute checked, and then I click on the checkbox and I again read the value of the attribute checked. Right. I'll just print it. Before clicking, the value is checked. And this is after clicking. Right. So when you run this, so the get attribute function can also help you. See, before is true, after is null. Okay, that means after clicking it was not checked, and before it is true. That means it is checked. So it can help you to find out whether the checkbox is checked or not. And similarly with radio buttons also, you can try it out. Okay, get attribute function will help you to find the state of the radio button as well. Just try to do it on some website, you'll come to know. Okay, so get attribute helps us a lot to read values from a text field to find out if the checkbox is checked, to find out if the radio button is checked. Okay, you cannot use get text directly to get the text of all the elements, especially text fields and all. And this button as well. For example, this is a submit button. If you want to read the button text, then the value attribute of the button holds the text. If I change this value to XYZ, you will see on the web page also the button value will change to XYZ. So in case of a button also, the value attribute holds what is the text of the button. So you can write driver.find element by the ID of the login submit dot get attribute value. Okay. Right. I hope I am making this clear. If anybody has any doubts or questions, then you can let me know certainly. Okay. So to read the value of a button and to read text fields and all that stuff like radio buttons, checkboxes, we use get attribute. Fine. Now um, we have seen a lot of things. Okay. We have seen how to open the browser dynamically. Okay, the same script. I can just change the browser name over here, Mozilla, and this open browser function which I had made yesterday would actually open the browser Mozilla, and it will also put an implicit wait of 20 seconds in the program. Okay, and the same script will run on Mozilla as well. So if you inspect everything on one browser and run on the other browser, it also works. Okay, because the page source, it remains the same, right? Now we will go forward and do a small exercise. Okay, that is You guys can also create a free account on this website, and or if you can use my login, you can, but don't change the password. Okay, so you can log in with that. Yeah. After logging in onto this website, you have to select a portfolio, right? So I selected a portfolio, right? It's a little slow. Then you can go and add the stocks in the portfolio. So to add a stock, you have to click on this button. You have to select a stock name if you type. So this is the auto suggest box. As you type, you get the company names filtered out and coming over to you with those wordings. Right, you select the company name and you have to select a date. So in a calendar, generally you are free to select a date from the future or a date from the past. Right. So your code should be able to dynamically select any date. Okay, enter the quantity and add the stock. Okay, so there are few challenges in this example. We haven't seen how to manage a drop down. We will see that. Okay, we will understand about managing this auto suggest. Okay, and we will also see how to manage the calendar, which is also a part of almost every application. Right. Now to manage this calendar, first of all, you will have to understand about the date class in Java. Like we'll have a program. Okay, this is I'll make a new class known as add stock. Okay, and every class will obviously extend the test base class. Right. So we will have a data with me with us hard coded right now. Later on, we'll read it from the external source. Okay, that what is the name of the stock? Okay, suppose I have to select Reliance Industries Limited. Okay, the date of purchase. Right. And the quantity. Generally, the data we always keep it in the string format and the price. So your code should work if I dynamically change the data. Okay, if I change the company name, it should go and dynamically select the company name from this auto suggest. If I change the date, okay, if I make it 2020 and instead of 7, I make it 8, then that particular date should obviously be selected. Later on, you read this data from some external file. Okay, but and we'll do this test case. We'll keep this test till the end. Okay, I'll tell you. Right. So how will you do this? To do this, first of all, to manage date, you need to understand about the date class in Java language. There are, I'll make a main function in this. Okay, there is a date class in Java. Okay, if you create the object of this date class, and if you print this, and if you run the code, it prints the current date time automatically, including the time zone, everything. Okay. Sometimes, and it will print the current. Okay, you don't have to worry about anything. Sometimes you have a string date. Okay, for example, 12th of November 2020. So you want to convert this string date into this date class object for doing various date operations. Okay, basically in our case over here, what we need when we click on the calendar, we will require to reach the right month and the year combination, either by clicking on the back button or the forward button. When I click on this calendar, by default, the current month and the current date is selected. So you need to click on the back and the or the forward button in order to reach the right combination of month here, and then you select the date. So you will have to convert the string date into the date class object. This string date is in the format dd mm yyyy. We keep it capital MM because capital MM in Java, it represents month. If you keep small mm, then small mm, it represents milliseconds actually. Okay, so in the for the month, we always keep double M in capital, right? So to convert this, first we will have to find the right month and the year combination. Okay, and the month and the year, the month is in the English characters over here, but the month which we are having is in the number. So we will have to extract a lot of information from this date. Okay, so what we do is that there is a class known as simple date format. You create the object of this class. It's an internal class in Java, right? And you specify the format of the date which you are using. Okay, had I have been having a hyphen in between, then I could have told that this is the date. Okay, like this. So you put the right format. Okay, and you write over here SDF dot parse this string. So this will return you the date class object. Okay. And if you print this D1 and if you run this, so this is the date. Thursday was the day on November the 11th, 2020 in the IST time zone. So by default, the time it gives you for the midnight. Okay. But from the string date, you get the date class object. And there are lots of functions and features which you can fire on this date class object. And for example, if you want to compare this D and D1, the current date with the date which has to be selected. Okay, so there is a simple function known as date D dot compare to D1. So if I run this, it will print 1. Okay, so if this date is greater than D1, it will print 1. If it is less than D1, it will print -1. If you move it on compare to, it will give you the usage. Okay, it is the 0 if both the dates are equal, less than 0 if D is less than D1. If okay, so this is instead of D, I'll give it today. Okay, so this is more readable. If today is greater than D1, it will print ones, and that's what it is printing, less -1. If both of them are equal, it will print 0. Okay, so we'll see that. We'll see that tomorrow now. Okay, this is a long exercise. It will take time. And I'll email you the recordings and the code also I'll upload on the Google Drive. Right. So that's it, right? So we have done enough and we are good. Anybody with any questions? Anything?
Uh, yes, actually, you already described about radio button, checkbox, auto suggested box, and drop down. So, how many elements are there? Will you please give us some example or you know more
Look, there are
information or
standard
discuss or
HTML
practice?
elements. Okay,
Yeah,
standard 7 to 8 text
yeah,
fields, radio buttons. Okay, then you have checkboxes. You have got drop down. You have got the regular text on the web page. Okay, and you have got buttons. You have got images. So these are almost all the types of elements on the web page. Okay, so and you have links. Sorry. So whatever I have covered till now can interact with any of these. Okay, for text field, you just need to type or read. Okay, for radio button, if you want to select, you can click on it. And if you want to see whether it is selected or not, you can use get attribute. Drop down, I'll tell you tomorrow. Okay, the regular text buttons, it's normal. Or for the button, you just need to click on it. Okay, just click or you use the get attribute to read the value of the button. For the regular text on the web page, generally we need to read the value what is written. So the get text function is there, which can read. Images, sometimes you just need to click on it. We cannot read the images. Okay, the content of image cannot be read. And links, it is simple get text will give you the text of the link. Will click on the link. That's it. Okay. So gradually, when you practice, you will understand what I'm telling. I'm doing it since a long time, so I'm just able to convey very easily, but I know it's not so easy for you guys. But when you practice, you should give yourself an hour or so after the class every day. So that's going to help you out. Okay. So we'll stop